Are you looking for a new whiskey adventure? Then climb in and buckle up. Get ready for one hell of a ride on the Whiskey Trip podcast with your host, Big Chief. Join in as he and his guests explore whiskey and dive into whiskey stories from around the world. Now here's your host, Big Chief.
Folks, you know, here on the Whiskey Trip, we celebrate more than just the pour in our glass. We celebrate heritage, tradition, and the stories that make this country what it is. That's why I'm proud to tell you about our friends at the Heritage Flag Company. These aren't just flags, they're handcrafted works of art built from whiskey and bourbon barrels that once held the spirit we all love. Every cut, every nail, every burn mark tells a story of patience and craftsmanship. Just like the whiskey we sip, these flags are bold, timeless, and full of character. Whether you hang one in your home bar, your man cave, or gift it to a veteran or first responder, a heritage flag isn't just decor. It's a statement. It says you believe in freedom, tradition, and the legacy we pass down. So saddle up, whiskey family, and head over to theheritageflag.com. Use code WhiskeyTrip10 at checkout for 10% off your order. Let them know Big Chief sent you. Because just like your favorite pour, the Heritage Flag Company is made to be shared, honored, and remembered. Now let's get on to the show. Hey, it's old Big Chief, and yeah, you're taking another ride on a whiskey trip, baby. And once again, I'm still in Colorado. I know week after week after week, I'm here in Colorado promoting Colorado whiskey. And there's a lot of whiskey in Colorado. And I know some people are going to hate on me for saying this, but this is my whiskey for Colorado right here, my sweetheart. I'm in Talnua. I got Mr. Patrick Miller on here. I don't have his wife on here this time. She was on the last show. I just couldn't do it, folks. I couldn't pull it off. But I got Patrick here with me, and we're in Arvada.
We worked on it.
I can't do it. Arvada, Colorado. And we're here at Talnua. And beautiful distillery. This is my third episode with you, Patrick.
Yeah.
Once on my old show, The Bourbon Road. And then I did audio with you in 2000. I think it was 23.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I'm back here in 2026. But this time we got video, and people get to see my expressions when I drink your whiskey.
Yeah, there you go.
They get to see the truth.
You get the lesser half of the Megan and Patrick, and you all have to look at my ugly face. But at least you get to see my.
You make me look better. Your beard is.
I brushed it just for you. I knew I brushed it for you.
Well, we do got some whiskey in our glass to start out with. What's this first whiskey we got?
So this first one, as we were talking a little bit before the show, I think one really fun thing that we'll dive into feet first here is our Bourbon, Cask, and Stave series. So it is aged in ex-bourbon barrels. Actually, let me back up. I'll back up because I'll tell people more about the mash bill side, because each one of these whiskeys in front of us has a house mash bill. It's a core mash bill. It's derived from the Irish tradition of single pot still whiskey. Of course, single means made at one single distillery, grain to glass. On top of that, we also have the bottled and bond moniker that also is a grain to glass statement for the United States. It is 50% malted barley, 50% raw barley, all triple distilled in our copper pot stills. Aged in ex-bourbon barrels. This batch still is, all the bourbon barrels are from Breckenridge Distillery. We then take staves and cut staves that are toasted and charred, half American white oak, half French oak, different toast and char levels that we put into the bung. Those staves hang in the bung the entire lifespan. So not dissimilar from what you get from Maker's 46, that same stylistically where they stave that whiskey. For them, it's a finish. For us, it's the entire aging process. So that is a minimum of 4 years, bottled and bond, of course, and then 100 proof. And I think our whiskeys at 100 proof, I love them because on those hot days in Colorado, nice big cube, that 100 proof, it meets the veteran whiskey drinker, but also isn't hazmat, so that you're a novice whiskey drinker. It's approachable. I think of all of our whiskeys, we're really proud of this one. Last year in 2025, the American Distilling Institute named this America's greatest whiskey. Huge award for us here at the distillery. And I think it's a very elegant whiskey. It's something that I think really showcases the barley because that cask influence is a little bit more balanced, a little bit more reserved than an upfront player. And I just love it. I think it's a beautiful whiskey. The irritating thing is this was my sister's idea because this is a winemaker's way of aging wine, staving casks, and this was her idea. So it's irritating that my little sister came up with the idea that won America's greatest whiskey, and it wasn't my brainchild, but that's why we have her. She's our sales director.
I mean, you kept it in the family, right?
We kept it in the family. I mean,
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, my cousin is our creative director. She does all of our design work. My sister's our sales director. Megan is the glue that holds all the crazy together.
She's the mom.
That's it. That's 100% distillery mom.
Well, I got to say, I knows this, and dried apricots on this. You know, those flowers that I look into a single malt for. Just a tad bit of like salted caramel coming out to me, but the beautiful nose. I say cheers to you.
Sláinte.
Man, what a great whiskey that is right there.
I love it.
And I get a little bit of smokiness on that backside, just a tad bit.
I agree. There's always with barley, there's always that little residual bit of phenolic-y note that registers as that kind of like smoky element, I think, to it. It's in no way like our peated cask, which we don't have here. We sold out of it, so I don't have any here on the table today, but that peated cask, obviously, with that really heavy smoke nature. But there's something just delicate about it. The flowers, when you talk about that, we always say it's like a honeysuckle.
Oh, yeah. Like you're walking down that honeysuckle road. A lot of people, I'd said that to another guest on the show, and after the show, he was like, I don't even know what honeysuckle is.
Yeah.
And I was like,
oh, man.
I thought everybody knew what honeysuckle
if you
is.
haven't pulled a flower off and sucked on a honeysuckle, you're not living
not
life
living,
right.
right?
You're not living life right.
Well, let's talk about how Talnua started. How did you and Megan start out?
So I'll tell you the origin story because I think it's part of the beauty of the brand and kind of leans into the ethos of what we're doing here. In 2011, Megan and I were on our honeymoon. We were in Galway, in a Galway pub. The date is easy to remember because it was 9/11/2011, so it was the 10th anniversary of 9/11. That day, Team USA was playing Ireland in the Rugby World Cup. Now, the World Cup was being played in New Zealand, but we were in Ireland, so it was like 9 a.m., right? And in Ireland, you can't serve liquor before 10 a.m., right? So we're all drinking Jameson out of coffee cups because they kind of look the other way during the World Cup. Well, unfortunately, Team USA would lose that day. The Irish are very good at rugby. But when you look up, and this is something fun, I believe it's still on the timeline of the Middleton timeline. If you look at where Redbreast, the Jameson website, in walked Redbreast cask strength 12-year-old. First time that had been re-released to the Irish market in decades. And so we just happened to be in this pub on our honeymoon in our rugby gear, our Team USA gear, only ones with Team USA on that morning. And the bartender cuts open the boxes and is pouring out this Redbreast. And if you've ever had Redbreast, it's a special whiskey. It always
Redbreast 12 years, an amazing pour of whiskey.
It is.
It's great.
And tell me if this is your experience. Any time I have given that to a whiskey drinker that defines themselves as a bourbon drinker, a single malt drinker, has an identity, a rye drinker, you pour them a Redbreast, they're happy. They love it. It's just.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you can get them there's some other Redbreast out there that'll just knock your socks off, though, like a 15-year finished in a Rosso sherry barrel. It's cask strength.
Yeah.
Some of the cask strength stuff they put out is just out of this world.
It is.
I gotta say, and I'll let you get back into that story, but this right here can compete with Redbreast.
That means a lot.
all day, every day.
Yeah, they are our muse. It turns out that mash bill that I mentioned at 50-50 malted, unmalted barley, that's the mash bill for Redbreast. We didn't know that when
Really?
we were trialing stuff. I'll get to how we kind of developed the recipe too. But it at the time, there just wasn't, there wasn't a lot of Irish whiskey out. This is 2011, right? So hardly
Yeah.
ancient history when this was just re-released to the market. You couldn't get Redbreast until Christmas of 2015, so 2016, basically, in Denver, Colorado. And so it was just over 10 years ago where this made landfall in the United States. This style of whiskey at all did not exist, even coming from Ireland. So now you have Powers, you have Redbreast, you have the Spots. All those are made at Middleton by the same folks that make Jameson.
They're like the Heaven Hill of Ireland.
They are. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
They 100% are. And a lot of the fun thing about those old brands is they all have a story that are tied to why they ended up in Middleton, why all those brands came together where they are. Like Redbreast was Gilby's. They were a grocer like John and Walker. They sold whiskey for Jameson out of the grocery store, aged that longer, added sherry casks in. They acted as a broker. They were ultimately a non-distiller producer that made their own whiskey and blends at grocery. And so same thing with the Spot lines. That's Mitchell's and Sons. That they're also a grocer, a fine wine and liquor purveyor out of Dublin. That's where all the Spots came from. They had this really amazing system of subterranean tunnels in Dublin, and all of the Spots were different age statements that were aged under the city streets of Dublin.
It's kind of sounds like Maxwell House Coffee, the Maxwell House in Nashville, Tennessee, and Nelson Greenbrier. Mm-hmm. The Maxwell House wanted their own line of whiskey, and that's how they started into whiskey.
I knew that, actually.
Yeah, very neat story. And then the wife, when he died, she was actually the first. I guess she would have been considered a distiller, and then she had the bright idea when Prohibition came along. She shipped off her whiskey to Mexico on a train. A lot of people don't realize that, but that fascinating history of grocers wanting their own line of whiskey, and that's the way they went about it.
They were able to standardize it. They were able to make it interesting for their consumers and change it and add age statements, and they were really exploratory with that. And Guinness had pioneered that, where you would go into your own bars, and the pub actually had their own Guinness label, and they were bottling it out of kegs that showed up from Guinness and would sell bottles. And we have a couple of them in the basement. You can still find here and there where there are pubs in Ireland that still bottled their own Guinness.
Really?
It was before nitrogen, right? So this would have been the old oil can style of Guinness.
Great mini-series or series.
It is. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I think they did a great job.
If you haven't watched it, folks, get out there and watch that series. I loved it. I love the history of just whiskey and beer, and I love that you two went over there and fell in love with whiskey, right? And you loved it so much. You're like, man, can we do this? Is that how it?
It was. Originally we had talked about potentially opening a pub, and it was like, actually what we really love is the camaraderie around drink. And we love these stories of Irish whiskey that nobody was telling in the United States, mostly because they were barely able to tell it in Ireland. It was just starting to gain traction. And it was this layered onion of everything, every layer you pulled back. There was a new story. There was something else to uncover. And starting from the origins of whiskey making with Irish monks, when whiskey was flying out the back door of the church, and its name for us, it was, there's just so much here to uncover, and we fell in love with that and fell in love with this style of whiskey. And so going back to Ireland every year, we would get these new expressions that were coming out little by little. We were both in oil and gas. I was on the chemistry side, in the completions lab, wellbore services, and Megan was on the environmental science service side. And in 2014, oil went from like $110 a barrel to $40 a barrel in 6 months. And my company that I was working for at the time, called Newfield Exploration, they decided they were closing all their U.S. onshore land offices. And so they were like, you either get a severance or your new job's in the Woodlands in Texas. But Megan's company headquarters was here. And I was like, well, probably don't want to be in Houston during an oil downturn, right?
Yeah.
And Colorado was home. I graduated Colorado State. We love it here. And when we got seriously talking about this, Megan got an email from Breckenridge Distillery. They used to put on this, they called it their Practical Distillery Startup Course. Jordan Vaya, the master distiller there, was the professor, the teacher of that class. And they were actually teaching other distillers how to get into it. It was a week-long crash course. So Megan sent that to me, and she was like, hey, I think you should do this. And I sent it to all my buddies at work. I was like, hey, guys, I'm going into the mountains, and I'm learning how to make whiskey. And she was like, no, I genuinely, I think we should do this, because the reason that Patrick and Megan are the Irish Americans that are making this style when millions have moved here over the centuries is because barley doesn't grow east of the Mississippi. Thanks to German immigrants that brought barley here from the foothills of the Alps to the foothills of the Rockies, barley grows predominantly in Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, and the Dakotas. So it's part of the provenance. It's part of the terroir of the state that we live in. And it was like, this is wild. We literally live in the place where the same natural resource that makes this Irish style of whiskey grows 15 minutes from the distillery, 20 minutes here.
Now, before we start on this next expression, I just want to give a couple of tasting notes with this. There's a little bit of white chocolate that I'm assuming comes from that ex-bourbon barrel. That salted caramel, I'm still getting it. A little bit of smokiness.
You hit that white chocolate. We say white chocolate macadamia nut.
Man, now you put macadamia nuts into it, and I'm like, okay, that all works. Beautiful whiskey, beautiful expression. 100 proof is perfect on this and stuff. I really believe a lot of people out there that say, I don't like Jack Daniels. This is a gateway whiskey for folks that this ain't going to burn your palate out. If you drink it right, we're drinking out of it in these little Spey Rocks glasses, and I've had some of these. They're tiny in my giant old hand. You were like, it's going to be hidden in there. And I could hide it. Just grab it. But what a beautiful whiskey right here. Now, before we move on to that second expression, how did you come up with the name Talnua? You two are, first off, how lucky are you to have a wife that you found a woman that said, you know what I want you to do? I want you to go make whiskey. Go forth and make whiskey, buddy, because, I love you so much. Most wives would be like, no, what I need you to go is to go find that 9-to-5 job, and I need you to burn it down and just work yourself to death to bring home a paycheck. But your wife's like, hey, let's go spend every dime we have and make some whiskey, And
there are times, Mike, which I have to remind her that it was her idea.
And Megan is sitting in here. I'm watching her face. She's giggling over there. But how did you guys come up with the name Talnua?
Yeah, so when we set out to build a brand, first of all, my last name's Miller. Problematic in the beverage space because there's another small mom and pop with the name Miller on a product.
Yeah.
And so it was like, well, we can't go down that road, right? So unlike the Jamesons and the Powers and the Walkers, it was like, okay, your name's taken. Sorry. So it was like, okay, well, one thing when we're looking at Irish and Scottish whiskeys, because they're really akin to one another, this thing that we saw that runs through the naming, especially on the Scotch whiskey side, that are not people's names, is like a Glenfiddich, Valley of the Deer, right? And it has a sense of place based on where they're located in Scotland. Glenlivet is Valley of Rivers, right? River Valley. And we wanted to have a name that represented somewhere that is American. We really wanted this to be defined as an American single pot still, not a recreation of an Irish style necessarily, but have its own sense of place. And so Talnua is derived from the Irish of Talamh Nua, which is new land or new world. So the idea of bringing this stylistically over to America, over to the new world, breaking new ground, new land that would, for an Irish person even, make sense about what Talnua is. That's the new world. That's America. And so that's how we came up with the name, and it didn't exist. Talisker, Tal, that is their name roughly translates as land by the cliffs, right? Ours is new land, Nua and Talamh. And so we had this idea. It was like, it's not taken. It doesn't exist out there either. I think it's great because there's no preconceived notions about what that is. It's something to uncover about the sense of place that we have. And then we incorporated the bighorn ram, which is the state animal of Colorado. So really important to show, okay, we're from America, but specifically from Colorado. Stands on the flat irons, which indicates that we're out on the front range here. The flat irons only exist here. Red Rock's, of course, the most famous of the flat irons. And then under the Irish moon, the Gaelic moon with the triskel symbol. For us, it's barley, yeast, water, our three ingredients. It's our triple distillation. And a minimum of 3 years old whiskey that we put out here out of the distillery.
What a beautiful story. I mean, I'll say that over and over and over again, but that's the kind of story I came here to take from you.
Yeah.
And I've told this story 3 times before. It's been told to me, and I know it by heart almost, that how you guys fell in love and how you go overseas and you fall in love with whiskey, and then your wife's like, go spend all our money on some whiskey and let's make some whiskey. And, I wouldn't say I'm like a proud papa, but now that it's 3 episodes down, I keep getting to come out here, about every 3 years actually, is, I can't wait till, hopefully it's not 3 years that goes by again,
that's too long.
To come here every time and get to experience you guys and tell your story again, and then remind new listeners out there, new whiskey drinkers, hey, come find this power couple in whiskey and find their whiskey and get to experience it is just something, like I said, beautiful. There's no other word for it to me, but how you guys put your name together, and then you pick the bighorn sheep, which is perseverance, which we need that in whiskey right now,
yeah,
right?
Totally.
An animal that can stand on a side of a giant cliff at the top of Pikes Peak, is amazing and stuff. Well, what's this next pour of whiskey?
Yeah, so we're continuing the bottled in bond theme. It is our American white oak. So what we say with this whiskey, same mash bill, that 50-50 malted, unmalted barley. This whiskey we describe as distilled like an Irish whiskey, but aged like an American bourbon and charred new American white oak casks. So for us, it's really the marriage of heritage of both styles of whiskey making. I'll let you be the judge of this, but for us, when we talk about this, when people are like, man, I'm a big bourbon drinker, I've never liked Scotch, I've never liked Irish whiskey, this is a gateway in between both styles. And I think it hits both sides of that palate, where it still is recognizably barley, but with that charred new American white oak, just the quintessential aging style of American whiskey, I think it really hits both sides.
Where I got that dried apricot on that last one, on this one, I get more of like a grilled peach.
Okay, yeah.
Just that little bit of smokiness to it.
I like that.
Some vanillas are coming out to me, which I should get in any whiskey, right? But that grilled peach, the sugars from that,
I love that.
I really love it. What'd you say, slancha?
Slancha.
Yeah. I should know that by now.
Well, and
My
I think
whiskey
it's fun because it's derived from the Irish for to your health. So it's always just a cheers to good health and your.
I needed it. I needed it this age. Viewers can see I got some gray going on, and it seems like every year it gets thicker and
Looks good on you, brother.
Well, I know, but my eyebrows haven't been turning gray, and I've been hoping. I know that sounds weird, but they look like two black caterpillars on my forehead. But I got one gray one that popped out the other day, and I was like, "Oh, what is that?
It's happening.
It might happen." And I know most people probably wouldn't be excited about that, but I am.
I love it.
What this thing right here, it is. That little bit of smokiness is still there with me, and that grilled peaches. I love when a nose matches the palate.
Yeah.
That tells me that the whiskey maker knows what they're doing. The distiller is actually thinking about their whiskey, and I know a lot of love in here comes out of this distillery. And one of the other things I love about you guys is that you guys are truly a family. When I said Megan was a mother and stuff, but I think you guys, last episode I did with you, we really got into that and how much you feel for your employees. They're not just employees, they're family, and they're really family members, but not just your family members. It's everybody else that works here that you really care about. And, when you're talking to you guys, I feel that. Like everybody you meet, that you bring them in here and you treat them like family. And then your staff, when your staff will bend over backwards for you and put up with your antics, that's you've did something right. I think.
Yeah, it's a really special group of high performing individuals that love the craft. I think they feel like we do here is that. Man, we have a really cool job. We get to make whiskey. We get to share it with people every day. I think with this and with what we're doing, with what we're putting forth into the whiskey world, into the culinary world, is we have an opportunity to be a standard bearer, and revive this ancient Irish whiskey tradition that was nearly lost to time. And it's a really special thing to be a part of and to get to tell these stories, these fun history stories. I think that's one great thing on our tours that Maya and Chris do here is that we get to tell the story of what happened to this style of whiskey. Why was it 2011 when Redbreast just was re-releasing again out into the Irish market? Why do we know the name Jameson as ubiquitous with what it means to be Irish and what Irish whiskey is? I think there's a really special story to tell, and we get to be the ones to tell it. And so I think it's there comes with that a charge of and a responsibility to do it right and to be intentional about things. And if you know anything about the Irish community, it's the only way they survived 800 years of English oppression was the pub, the community, the town. It was laughter despite all the negative things that were going on. It was the perseverance of a people, and I think telling that story and being able to be a part of it is just something beautiful, especially because the Irish invented whiskey. We'll fight the Scots on that all day, and so it's one of those things that I think is just it's a special retelling. And these days, the modern drinker is looking for new, interesting, fun things, and in the state we have a history of that. I think the folks at New Belgium bringing Belgian style beer over to the middle of the Rocky Mountains and telling this style, and nobody was making this Belgian style. we're New Ireland in that same way, telling this Irish story, the story of the immigrants. And Colorado has a big Irish community, a big Irish heritage. A lot of the miners up in Leadville, mining copper, gold, lead.
A lot of them got here with the American Railroad as well.
Absolutely.
They helped build the American
Continental Railroad.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
A lot of people don't realize that. You had the Pacific coming this way, and more with Chinese workers.
Immigrants. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they were coming that way, but the Irish were
Moving the other way.
west, right?
Yep,
So
totally. Absolutely.
a lot of people don't realize that. There's a lot of movies about that. We're talking about Ireland and pubs in that community. One of my favorite movies of all time is The Quiet Man with John Wayne, and he's goes over there and he's a boxer and a fighter, and he goes over there to find his family, and he ends up meeting this girl, but he ends up having a fight as I don't know if he wasn't the dad, he was her brother. He had been in a lot of movies with him before as like his sergeant major in these military like cavalry movies.
Cavalry movies is right, yeah.
But The Quiet Man is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I always say if I go to Ireland, I got to go to that town and go to that pub and drink whiskey.
And you can't actually. So let me tell you a little story. After we had that experience at the pub in the morning,
You got in a fight.
we got in a fight in County Mayo. No, we drove north to a place that my mom and dad gifted us a night in Ashford Castle. It's a beautiful castle up there, 5-star resort. They do things like fox hunts and falconry and all kinds of really cool engagements out, and you stay in this castle that was built in the 1100s and then was subsequently added on to as different leaders, rulers took over and built more modern structure onto it. It's a beautiful area up there, and they have one channel on the television that all it is Quiet Man. All 24 hours a day, just loops the Quiet Man because it's outside of the castle walls. This little on the County Mayo line right there is the whole town is still thatched roofs. You can go visit there. There's a bridge over the river right there. It's an absolutely beautiful. So we drove up there. We were then relegated to only being inside because a hurricane hit Ireland that night. And we actually ended up meeting one of the bartenders was from Lithuania. I think it was Lithuania. And he was hysterical. We're sitting up because we're late night. I mean, we're having a great time. We're in this castle. It's literally like the powers. It's all candles. All the power's out. And in the morning, they were out there like cleaning branches off. The hotel staff came around with bottles of water because all the water was shut off. It was wild. They treated us like kings, though. But if you ever get a chance, you got to stay in Ashford Castle, 24 hours a day. The Quiet Man.
You'll have to text me all that, so just so I can set it up. That's the kind of stuff that I love, and the stories that I love that you guys went there and visited
and talk about a whiskey collection at that place. They have whiskey. They have dusty bottles there from Ireland from ages ago. It's really a special place.
To open a bottle of whiskey like that is something that's amazing. To drink something that's super old. When you think Prohibition here, everybody's like, well, I got to drink something from Prohibition, before Prohibition. I'm like, there's older whiskey out there to get to try that you might just blow your socks off.
Yeah.
I'd love to find the first Japanese whiskey or the first India whiskey that was out there and stuff. Some of these just whiskeys that nobody thinks about, right? And a lot of people, sometimes Irish whiskey gets relegated because of Scotch.
Totally.
Same thing about bourbon. Scotch drinkers kind of look down on it, but you guys you're making an American single malt, right? And I tell Scotch drinkers, I said, you got to try these American single malts. Irish whiskey drinkers, you got to try these American. Well, who do you recommend? And I'm like, you got to go to Colorado and you got to buy some Talnua. That's my go-to, my standard is, hey, this is the bottle you need to try right here. I think you got to go seek them out.
Yeah, it's and it's a beautiful thing to be able to make whiskey from the grains specific to where you are, right? I mean, I think that's a big part of that notion of terroir, that notion of provenance, having something that we do here, and since we grow all the grains here locally, thanks predominantly to the Coors family. They were ones who were planting a lot of barley fields, especially with the expansion of the brewery here and with the expansion of craft brewers. It became more and more popular, and these alpine strains of barley are really beautiful. They're low water, so here in Colorado, where there's water sensitivity, where drought can happen with a bad snow season like we just had here this year, no snow. We've had more precipitation in the last 3 days since you've been here than we had almost all winter.
I brought it from Southeast Texas.
Thank you. We, as Coloradans, we thank you. The farmers, thank you.
We got the water there for sure.
Yeah. But it's really it's a special thing. It's just it's a fun thing to be making something that belongs to Colorado. And it's fun that it exists in a climate region so different from its home, so far from its home, but not dissimilar. I mean, not to be too dramatic about it, but we do think of ourselves like the French vines that came over and were planted in California, made beautiful wine in Southern California. We feel that same way. Barley out here, distilled and then aged at high altitude, really give a different whiskey. It's not a recreation one-to-one of what they're doing in Ireland. It has its own flavor. It has its own nuance. It has that provenance.
And you hit a nail on the head. You're not trying to make Irish whiskey or Scotch. You're trying to make American single malts in Colorado at altitude, really. We're a mile up right now, I think, where we're at right now, right? And
right at 6,000 feet.
Is there even a point in Ireland that's 6,000 feet?
Croagh Patrick we would be standing on top of it right now. It's almost exactly 6,000 feet.
But that's the very highest point?
It's the very highest point in Ireland, yep.
I mean, that's...
Yep.
In Colorado.
And in Colorado, we're we're lowland creatures down here,
you're up at Pikes Peak and it's 14,000 feet and you're sucking for air.
Yeah, totally.
Where, even here in the Denver area, it's still high. Well, on the second half, let's dive into your stills because
let's do it.
You didn't go with the American style column still. You went with pot stills, and we'll talk about your barrels, and we'll really dive into that.
I love it.
We see some of your full barrels here. We're going to talk about single barrel picks here with Talnua. We're really going to get to the nuts and bolts of what you're doing. We'll talk about your meal back there.
As a miller, it's the most important piece of equipment.
I got to tell you that I met another distiller that is a miller.
A miller? Oh, I got to meet him. I
don't know if he's distilling anymore. He might be out of it, but I was shocked when he told me that. I was like, hey, what's your name? And he's like, Miller. And I was like,
there you go.
Oh, do you grind your own grain? Yeah.
I was like, it was the best.
He was excited about it.
For years, we had it milled off-site until we actually got our own mill, and it was the happiest day at the distillery when we got our own mill on site. Plus, our efficiencies went way up.
The wife said, "Hey, go buy some more.
Go buy some more
spend
equipment,
more money." Well, listeners, you stick with us for the second half. The Millers have a giveaway for you. I'm going to pair some of my swag with it to give away to one lucky winner. And we're going to keep this discussion. We got 3 other expressions to drink. What a great conversation. I love it because we're over my 30-minute mark, and that means the conversation was flowing and great stories were happening, and it just felt great. Listeners, you stick with us, and we'll be right back. The Whiskey Trip is proudly sponsored by Guardian Coins, a veteran, family-owned and operated company that understand what it truly means to honor service, story, and tradition. Guardian Coins just doesn't make the challenge coins. They craft symbols of pride, legacy, and camaraderie. From military units and first responders to distilleries, brands, and special events, every coin is designed with purpose and built to last. Here at the Whiskey Trip, our official Whiskey Trip Challenge coin was brought to life by Guardian Coins, and it represents exactly what this ride is all about. Craftsmanship, community, and sharing a great pour with amazing people. From custom artwork to flawless finishes, Guardian Coins works with you one-on-one to turn your vision into something tangible, something you can hold, collect, and pass down. So if you're looking to create a coin that tells your story, whether it's from your unit, your brand, or your next big milestone, trust the folks who know how much that story matters. Visit Guardian Coins on Facebook and tell them Big Chief from the Whiskey Trip sent you. Now pour something good and let's get back to the ride. All right, listeners, we're back for the second half, and I made a mistake in the first half, and I've been calling this American single malt, and they're American because they don't use all malted barley. They use 50% malted barley. It's an American single pot still. I just want to clarify that for everybody. It's still American, though. So,
100%. And it's actually a great segue into what we were going to talk about. One, the stills, but also the production process. And it's something we're really proud of. If you want to start, you want to chat about this whiskey quick?
yeah, what's this first one?
So this is one thing that I've always loved. I've always loved sherry finished whiskeys, single malts, pot stills, even the emerging kind of bourbon finishing in sherry casks. I think when done right, there's something so beautiful about the marriage of that sherry flavor profile. For us, it's all Oloroso casks, so a drier, nuttier blend type of sherry. I think it matches that barley sweetness, that triple distillation. It also was originally in New American oak, so something akin to like our American white oak bottled in bond, that then is finished for a minimum of 6 months in Oloroso sherry cask. So also bottled in bond, and there's a strong heritage of Irish whiskey finishing in sherry casks because of their proximity to Spain and the relationship between Spain and Ireland on a religious basis, being Catholic states centuries and centuries ago. And so this is something that is a really fun addition. I think people that love a sherry finish, that love that kind of nuttiness, a little bit of that sweetness, find something here. This is a sipper for me weekly.
Beautiful nose on that. That sherry is like really just coming out for me. It's I love when you can put something in a cask and it changes like that. You know, it just makes a difference. Mm-hmm. And you're already sipping on it, so hell,
I'm halfway. I've had it before. It's spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. And I think I have had this before the last time I came, but a beautiful whiskey. So you got these 3 iconic stills in there. Mm-hmm. They are just absolutely gorgeous. Mm-hmm. And you probably wouldn't know the difference if you walked into a Irish distillery or even here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and you're exactly right. I actually modeled them off of the Method and Madness stills that are the Jameson Pilot still system. So there's a brand called Method and Madness. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It's very lightly distributed. They make about as much whiskey as we do every year. So for Middleton, that is a pilot program. And they do all the interesting things that they can't do at a huge scale out to market at Middleton, but really are the new brand development. So things, ideas, cask finishes, aging profiles, different barley mash bills, different types of barley, all that is done in, say, the basement of Middleton, and I modeled our stills off of that system. 3 copper pot stills, a wash still, faint still, and spirit still. The reason that there is a triple distillation in Ireland, and it is not typical anywhere else, is there's a few things. One, we self-govern by what is known as the Irish Whiskey Technical File. Since we are the first ones to build a distillery to make this style of whiskey here in the United States, there are no rules and regulations about how this style has to be made. So we self-govern by how the Irish would have to make this style in Ireland. One of the mandates is that it must be distilled in unobstructed copper pot stills. So you can't have plates. You cannot make this on a column. It has to be in copper pot stills. So we're talking about that Hershey Kiss shape, onion pot up to the swan neck over to the condenser. That style of still is the quintessential style that you think of in Ireland and in Scotland.
Sure.
Very old world style of pot manufacturing. So one of the beautiful things about that, and why you see triple distilled on all of our bottles, why you see that on bottles of Jameson and Redbreast and Powers and Teeling, is because when you use large portions of raw unmalted barley, you get a very oily, heavy textural distillate. So when only double distilled, it's the entire show. It's just an oil can. And with that comes a lot of kind of earthen properties. If you're distilling it correctly, you want some of that fusel oil to come through. You want some of that texture to come through. It's the beauty of where that spiciness, I think that's one thing we haven't really addressed, that even though our whiskeys are triple distilled, I think you find that all of them have a nice full body to them, a nice long finish and mouthfeel. That is because of that raw unmalted barley, and it necessitates a triple distillation to balance that spicy, oily texture. It also has the beautiful ability to round out the sharp edges of the distillate before it goes into the cask. So you get this really wonderfully balanced whiskey. There are a few malt companies who do it well. Bushmills is one of them, all malted barley, a single malt, triple distilled. In Ireland, or in Scotland, Auchentoshan is one of those distilleries that also employs a triple distillation. They typically are just much lighter, much more delicate when all the barley's malted, because you don't have that oily carryover from that raw barley.
I love that explanation. Kind of nerding out here with some whiskey knowledge for people. And I know I got listeners out there that just are eating that up and stuff. The understanding of a still and how you're using different stills to make your process. What about your barrels? Did you guys like really have to decide on a barrel? You just pick one and say, okay, we're going to go with that?
So there's a few different things. One, I'll start back with the Irish Whiskey Technical File. The best thing about this aging portfolio, the aging availability, is this whiskey style existed before aged whiskey was a thing. So it just has to be currently aged in a wooden container. It doesn't even tell you what type of wood it is, right?
It could be a bucket.
It could be anything with an enclosure. It could be square, as long as it is a wood container. The only thing is, and this is most people know, I think institutionally, that in Ireland and Scotland, whiskey has to be 3 years old before it's even considered whiskey. It's not legally sellable as whiskey until it's 3 years old. Here, you could throw it into a barrel for 10 seconds, whiskey. God bless America, because that keeps all us craft distillers able to keep things moving until we have 3-4 year old whiskey of our own. However, in Ireland, the reason that came about was in 1915, when there were grain shortages and rationing on the front. It was a way for the British Crown to prevent the distillers, because it turns out when there's a war of that magnitude in World War I, lots of people drinking whiskey. But a lot of it was unaged, right? It was new make spirit, more akin to moonshine, more akin to how whiskey would have been made in the 1700s.
By George Washington.
Exactly.
Yep.
And in a way to curb that grain consumption, the British Crown said, hey, now whiskey has to be aged a minimum of 3 years, and you can't sell new make, right? You can't sell
So you couldn't
straight
sell
up.
moonshine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Wow.
it. And so that's where that 3-year-old age statement comes from. Didn't exist. Is nothing magical happens at 3 years that turns it into whiskey. I think we can all agree that to a certain extent, time as an ingredient makes whiskey better, and that 3 years is a great starting point. I think most distilleries find that a 3-year product is a great place to start. It's where you've started to get a refinement. I think that exists across climate regions as well. But that was born of political and ration necessity.
I mean, a war, a lot of ingenuity, a lot of inventions come at the price of war.
Totally. Absolutely.
So that something new I didn't know about whiskey was the 3 years that came from World War One. What a great
It's just these little nuggets,
explanation of
these
it.
fun little nuggets
Hey,
of
yeah,
history
yeah.
that you really find when you look back. And so for us, back to how we select barrels, when we first started, we were using 15-gallon barrels, and then we moved to 30-gallon barrels. We were always laying down 53s. One thing here in Colorado, all of those are new make, by the way, new made barrels, I should say. The 15s, the 30s, those were all
Yeah.
new American oak. So no ex casks at that time. When we started, some of that was if you put a whiskey out in 15 to 18 months out of a 53-gallon barrel, it's not great. Even if you make really good distillate, it's young. There's just still a lot of sharpness to work through. A lot of new make just has not had the time to esterify and refine itself in a cask of that size at that time. However, those 15-gallon barrels, you get a lot of angel share. Here, especially in the Rockies, we're 7 to 11%, right? I think in Kentucky they're 4 to 6%, and in Ireland it's sub 2%.
But you're sucking out all the water is what you're really just taking that water out here and leaving the alcohol in them, where you get into the lower elevations. Even in Kentucky,
Yeah.
you know, the elevation in like Louisville is like 600, 700 feet around that area, where we're up at 5,000 feet. But then you go down on the coast and the Gulf Coast, where in a lot of the Caribbean, they lose alcohol,
Right,
and the
preferential.
water stays in, right? Does that it's true?
You're exactly right. It's a ratio of humidity and barometric pressure. Here, the way that you would prevent excess angel share is to increase humidity. You want the temperature swings that we get here, right? We're in this rack house right now. We got a window in which this is in any way comfortable for anybody to be in here, because it gets really cold in the winter and it gets really hot in here.
I mean, it feels good in here.
It feels
right now.
great.
Perfect. Right?
And it's really nice outside, right? It's
Yeah.
it's unseasonably cool for May. Even here, it's
Sure.
in the 60s. It's been raining, so it's really nice. It's very pleasant in here. In the winter, we never let it get below 40 degrees because we are in a physical structure with water and pipes and all that. But it also gets 90 some degrees in here in the summer. So it's kind of nice we're able to be in this space here. We have windows of the year in which we're able to be in here. But you want that hot and cold, right? It's something that you get in Kentucky. It's something you get here in Colorado. In Texas, your neck of the woods never gets as cold as it does here by any means, especially not for prolonged stretches. But it ages different because it also has a prolonged heated season, hot season. And so for here, it's great. You get that balance of hot and cold. And for the newer listener, about what that means is when a barrel heats up, when the liquor heats up, it pushes that liquor into the wood, and when it gets cold, it retracts in, it pulls all of that oaken goodness, tannins and lignins back into the liquor. Here we also have that evaporation ratio that's much higher, so you get a lot more oxygen, nitrogen in the barrel that begins and catalyzes the esterification process, changes those tannins that are in their acid profile into esters. That's where you get caramels, vanillas, macadamia nut, you name it. those aren't added into the barrel, obviously, but that interaction between the grain, the esters that were made by the yeast during fermentation, the selection of cuts based on the distillation and the distiller's bouquet that gets put into the barrel, and then that interaction of the cask between the temperature swings and the evaporation are ultimately what combined to make this final product here in the glass.
You're a true scientist, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So I got another pour here. I went ahead and grabbed it because I didn't smash that first one.
It's pretty good. I do love that sherry.
That says something about that whiskey.
Thank you.
It is so approachable, and that sherry cask didn't overpower it, but it gave it a little spice almost.
It does give it spice. You're absolutely right.
You know, I loved it. It gave it that spice, and it gave it something a little extra. So what do we got in this glass right here?
Okay, so this is a fun one. Old Saints Keep every year. It is our St. Patrick's Day release. So when we talk about the origins of whiskey making, Irish and Scottish monks that were the first distillers, right? The etymology of the word whiskey is derived from the Irish monks were Catholics, so they spoke Latin, especially in the 1100s. And subsequently, as they began distilling in Ireland, called the whiskey aquavitae, which is Latin for the water of life. Well, aquavitae translated into Irish Gaelic is Ishkaba, and Ishka would ultimately be anglicized as whiskey over time. So it's derived from the water of life, just like aquavit is and eau de vie. All of those distillations translated into French or Norse all mean the water of life. And for whiskey, translated into Irish, is Ishka. Ishka is whiskey.
I mean, I could say Ishka. I was going to try to pronounce some of that other stuff, and then you just messed me all up. You know, I was like, I don't know that a hill country boy from Texas can have all that in the vocabulary. It's like, God dang, he challenging this Texan here. I love it. The nose on this is just spectacular.
Thank you.
All of sometimes you'll go into a distillery and one expression, the nose will be great, and then one expression will be not all that great, and then you'll go to the next one, it's different. Across the board, I got to say, so far, the nose and the palate have matched up.
That's amazing. I really appreciate it. It's something we work really hard on when we put these blends together. So specifically for this year, part of the reason I told that Old Saints is our anniversary is on St. Patrick's Day.
Yep.
So the Old Saints Keep, or the keep of the distillery, was always the good stuff. It was what the distillers kept when you were hosting something, a la the monks, if the bishop came or the principality came, dignitaries, you always had something to keep, the good stuff, the stuff in the back. So for us, every year on our anniversary, we release a whiskey. They're different every year. This year were 6 different Colorado distilleries that we got finishing barrels from. It was a bourbon from Storm King on the western slope, a Spirit Hound single malt, a wheat whiskey from Laws, a rye whiskey from Family Jones, a rum cask from Bear Creek, and a apple brandy from Deerhammer up in Buena Vista. And our whiskey, starting as either our Continuum cask, our Solera, or American White Oak, went into all of those casks. And at the end of maturation, at almost 5 years, those all came back together completely, each of the casks. So it was the full cask. So as we did this, it was like we wanted it to be showcased as a full blend, not some of this and some of that. It was a full blend. So 6 different casks, American single pot still, 50-50 malted, unmalted barley, all triple distilled, 6 finishing.
And what was the proof on this right here?
100.
100 proof still.
100. Yep.
Slancha. A beautiful whiskey, very elegant.
It is elegant. I appreciate that. Yeah.
More oily than the other ones, and maybe that's coming from the cask.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, you're the mad scientist here.
It's the fun thing about doing this blend is they were so different. Even though a similar whiskey went into each of the casks, coming out the other side, they were wildly different, right? The rye had a spice to it. There was this soft elevation from the wheat. The apple brandy brought in fruited notes. The rum brought in this like musty sweetness to it. The bourbon had that perfect bourbon finish. It was like, man, that you blind tasting it almost tastes like a bourbon. And the single malt had that. It paired just super well from the barley to barley finishing, and it was like, man, we should sell these as single barrels because it's really fun to show the variety of what happens in a finishing cask up to a year of aging in those casks. But I think each cask brought something unique, and there was a reason that we wanted them to be different spirits from the different distillers so that each was showcased. So it wasn't just 6 different Colorado bourbons. It was meant to be different casks that brought something uniquely special.
I think this drink's hotter than 100 proof.
Probably
107, 110.
It's spicy.
To me, it has a spice to it. Mm-hmm. I think if you want to celebrate the Millers, celebrate Talnua, what you want to do is come get in line for one of these bottles and celebrate their marriage, celebrate their mad scientists together that said, hey, we can pull all this together and make a marriage of whiskeys.
And we got to hang out with our favorite Colorado distillers and friends.
I mean, you named some people there from like Deerhammer and Spirit Hound. Bear Creek, I've been out there.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, okay, I needed to go find these other folks, get on a whiskey trip and go hunt these people down.
Whiskey trip, that's a great name.
I know. I know. Isn't that it works perfect for me because I always get to get on a whiskey trip and pull Miss Viv along with me and just I get to have great conversations like this and I mean, this has been a true education for me. Not too often that I sit down with somebody and I'm like, this joker right here, you're pulling out some stuff that I'm like, I didn't know that, or it's been a minute since I've heard somebody say that, and that's good for me. It's a little bit humbling, actually. After 500 shows, not too much will be like, oh crap, I don't know that. And it's nice to sit down with somebody that can match me knowledge for knowledge.
I was going to say, I learn a lot from you. You know so much about the industry. It's one thing, I think this whiskey is a celebration of Colorado. It's our 250 years of America. We're the centennial state. That's our namesake. So we were 100 years after that. So it's our 150th anniversary. It's something silly, sesquicentennial or something like that. I can't say all the way. But it is a celebration. I think Colorado brings something special and unique to the distilling scene. And it's fun to have the knowledge that you've gotten to travel and what you bring and what the stories that you tell. It's really fun to listen to you and all the people all the people that you've met and interacted with. It's envious because there's sometimes where we're holed up here in the Rockies. We're a mile from not just sea level, but from anywhere else close. And so it's really nice when people come visit us and we get to talk shop and get to hear all of your experiences.
Well, the one thing I love to do is, I know you guys are about to take a trip, and I love to network, right? I love to connect people. Anytime that I can connect somebody and you might say, hey, I haven't met this person or that person. And if I've met somebody and I've made a friendship with them, I love to connect those people, especially two people that have the same interests and can kind of geek out about whiskey together and stuff. Because that's what those whiskey people do is we get together and, we talk about beautiful pours of whiskey. And I love that when, I hear other distillers like, oh, I want to go here, I want to go there, and want to try this, or I want to meet that person just to
Yeah.
kind of see what gears are turning up in there. What kind of mad scientists are they? Right.
Well, I mean, think of the comment, all that we know, and think of how much we still have to learn. I think that is as a maker of the product, there's still so much to uncover on the history side, on the science side, on the art side. I think it's part of why we do this, part of why this is so great, and the communities circle up around.
Oh,
the
I
spirit.
think we're just touching the very tip of what history we know about whiskey, because so many people, even not only in America but around the world, have buried distilling history because they were ashamed of it, or the church was ashamed of it, or
Or it was a paper economy, and when a distillery
Yeah.
went out of business, the records just
Disappeared.
went away. They just disappeared. Yeah. Or it's in in the case in Ireland, a lot of times it's in a ledger in somebody's home, and it was great grandpa's ledger that they kept, and they've got it, and there's old pieces of barley stuck in it, and there's old recipes and mash bills of things that they were doing because the cows, the horses didn't eat all the oats, and they're about to spoil. So this batch now has a bunch of horse oats in it, right? It's like those kind of things are being uncovered. The more interest there is in the stories that can be told there's history out there. There's history that is yet to be uncovered that I think still is really an exciting part of this. I mean, Prohibition, you couldn't tell everybody that what your recipe, you weren't talking about that, right? I mean, so there's a lot of those things that live in dusty cabinets and basements, and every time they bulldoze an old house in Kentucky, there's bottles in a wall somewhere.
Well, even here in Colorado, we went to the Broadmoor
Yes.
down in Colorado Springs, and
Yeah,
they have
yeah,
all
yeah.
these dusty bottles down there.
Big time. Mhm.
And I'm
On the way to the bathroom.
down this hallway.
On the hallway, yep.
And I think some of the workers there were freaking out because me and Viv were in there just like studying every bottle, and I was like, "Oh, look at this brand and look at that brand." And there's a brand out there that's defunct called Big Chief,
Is
a
there
whiskey.
really?
100% corn whiskey out of Chattanooga in the 19 teens, pre-prohibition, right?
Okay,
And
yeah.
If you're a listener out there and you have one of those bottles, if you know of a bottle, only thing I have is the print of it, and so we're looking through these hundreds of bottles up there, and I mean, there's American whiskey, Irish whiskey, Scotch up there. Have you both seen those bottles?
I've seen those. Yeah, I think you've been out there in that.
I would love to go in there and just if one of those had whiskey in it, and they said they do have some of the ones that have whiskey in it, is the number one, try some of that whiskey.
Yeah.
And I've got to try a lot of pre-prohibition stuff at bars
I
down
never
Bourbon
have
Company.
actually. Yeah. Oh, they're wonderful at bars.
And
Great chicken sandwich.
got to try some of that whiskey, but I've gotten other great pours. The guys from the Noble Dram, they let me try a 1976 Jim Beam, which I was so grateful for because, that was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So it just the 200th anniversary of America,
Yeah.
and it was a celebration deal. But I'd like to. Have you ever tried any old whiskey like that, and like a single pot still?
Look at her. Look at this. So Megan, there's a story. See, this is why you need to come join the team.
know.
I'll tell it for her. I'll butcher it. But so it's in Neat, the bar in wonderful whiskey bar in Louisville. They've got it's
Neat. Owen's
Yep.
bar.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It's fantastic. We go there almost every time because they just have such a great collection. And,
He's got some Airbnbs behind there too.
Does he really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. We're gonna have to reach out. I love that bar. It was introduced to us a while back, and now it's a regular stop for us anytime we're in Louisville. And they had a Cuddy Sark from 1973, 74, and it's a Scotch whiskey. And so in Louisville, nobody's seeking out the Scotch list, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as we walk in, there is this 1974, and it was priced something ridiculously cheap. I mean, it was one of those. It was like wholesale. Megan was like, I want that, and I want it to be a double. And then someone down the bar was like, I want to try one of those. Well, I think we drank a half bottle between the rest of us in the bar. Killed an old 1974 Cuddy Sark blended Scotch whiskey in the bar at Neat one night.
I've recorded an episode up in there.
Have you? Yeah.
Yep. It's several, not 4 or 5 years ago. I cut an episode up in there, and Owen's such a great guy. If you're in Louisville, Kentucky, you got to go to Neat.
It's wonderful.
It's just an amazing part of Louisville that you just got to go to that street. And there's a Krispy Kreme donuts right down the street that you can get a hot donut coming off the. Hey, there's nothing better than eating a hot Krispy Kreme donut with some whiskey.
There is an event in Colorado, in Denver, every summer, whiskey and donuts. It's a thing. It's a wonderful pairing.
I don't know. We live in Southeast Texas, and you guys live down there. Damn donut shop on every corner there. I mean,
Shipley's, man.
Yeah, Shipley's.
I love
donuts.
Shipley's. Oh, I love it. They're kolaches.
Brought
man.
you some kolaches. I should have brought you guys some kolaches.
I missed that big time.
Man, what a great conversation. Now, we got one last whiskey before we
one more
finish up here.
So this is something for us that is special as distillers, because for Talnua, when we started, I was by myself, 400-gallon handmade pot still, and 2 old dairy tanks as fermenters. So we were only making a couple barrels a week. And so when it came to developing and making product lines, we didn't have a whole lot to feed. There wasn't a whole lot of backstock. So this whiskey here in the red tube is our new single barrel program. We just launched this month in May, and we are now doing single barrel picks. This was fun because there's an amazing liquor store up in Boulder called Hazel's, and they have you need it in Colorado, they got it. And they're wonderful people. They've been great proponents of us through our journey because, I mean, we're a small craft producer. It means a lot to us when we have bars, restaurants, retailers that bring us in, that take a chance on us. Nobody knows our name yet, right? And they co-picked this barrel with the Bluegrass Bourbon Lounge in Old Town Arvada that we're only about a half mile from here. Bluegrass has been known as one of the top 50 bourbon bars in the United States for 4 or 5 years now.
Is it a dive bar though?
No, it's actually it's like a shotgun bar with a nice little patio out back, huge whiskey selection. You walk in, you would never expect what you're walking into. Very well manicured. The team is super knowledgeable. It's just one of those salt of the earth places that the owners, Drew and Sheena, are originally from Kentucky. Josh, the manager and boss over there, is our good friend, picked the single barrel, and it was an honor to do it between what we see as a premier whiskey bar in Colorado and a premier liquor store. And so this is our whiskey aged in an Elijah Craig bourbon barrel.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. So this is that. It kind of is that Irish style aged in that. And I do not recall the proof. Would you hand?
That's
it to
what
me?
I was going to say.
I was going to say you
proof?
read that off. It's right at the bottom. None of our stuff.
116.7.
116. So this is a good time to briefly talk about cask entry proof. We enter cask almost exclusively at 110 proof. And so our proof goes up, obviously in this case, 116. We do not have anything on site that's really considered hazmat because of our low entry proof. And that is a balance. We know the proof is going up, and there's a balance between the extraction that we want to see because our whiskey is barley based. And so there's a more delicate balance in barley, I think, as a distiller than corn. I'd love to hear oppositions to that from other distillers that have tried other things, because obviously we are barley people. That's all we do
Sure.
here. But a lot of times stuff going in at 125 comes out at 130, 140 proof. For our single barrel picks, they're all cask strength, but they typically lie under 120.
So if you did go in at 125, would almost everything be here? Would it end up being at hazmat 140 proof?
It would be. And one thing for us is with barley, it's a calculus of the grain that we use and the triple distillation, which does yield at times a more delicate distillate than a corn forward, rye forward distillate, that the cask can really overpower it.
You're not locked into what whiskey can go into the barrel, though, are you, like bourbon is?
Nope. The only thing that we're locked into is just the American rules. So it has to be over 100 proof, under 125. So that's the window.
And I've seen people do everything from, you said, 100 proof. Mm-hmm. I've actually seen somebody goes in there, and I still can't figure out how they do it, but they go in at I guess they proof it down to that and then put it in the cask, but 101 proof. I've seen all the way up to 125 several times. And in Colorado, it seems like that's a thing. Somebody texted me today and was like, "Man, you're out in Colorado. They got all that hazmat out there." And
the evaporation's real, man. And
like,
so
that's for big men like me.
It's well, and I tell you what, this is the interesting thing about you want to make the absolute best product that you can anytime. The reality is you also got to be able to afford it. So if you're putting 110 proof in, 100 proof in, you're putting a lot of water into a barrel. That water takes up space, and barrels are expensive.
Yeah.
And so there is a calculus there between the extraction and the economics. And for a distiller like us, it's less impactful than a Heaven Hill, Maker's Mark, Beam, where you're putting so many casks down that the proof, 1-2 proof, is millions of dollars in whiskey and barrels that you're laying down. So there is that calculus as well. We are at the economic level in which laying down, our max is 750 barrels a year as our max capacity. We get to be a little bit more deliberate about what our entry proof is, and that entry proof at 110 is a great balance between extraction, efficient extraction from the oak, and not bringing in too tannic of a whiskey or too astringent of a flavor profile because of the high proof point.
Well, I'm dying to try this. I sipped a little bit.
I peeked. I'm always a little head.
Slancha.
I should have. I forgot. I'm just like, if there's a whiskey in front of me, it's usually an empty glass before too long.
Absolutely delicious. Just that good. I took a little bitty peek at first, but just a big sip of this, and just let it roll off my tongue under my cheeks.
The bourbon notes punch here. Great.
There's this
Elijah Craig's just great.
Just a little bit of smokiness chocolate on the backside of this that gives you this nice long finish. How old is this?
It is just under 4 years old.
Really? That is shocking.
3 years, 10 months. Yep.
That we're up at this high and that the whiskey is 3 years, a little over 3 years and stuff. It just shows you the diversity of whiskey, and you're beating down the rules that are set in Kentucky by Kentuckians and Tennesseans that say, oh, whiskey has to be this age, it has to be drank at this proof. No. Who are you to set the rules?
Yeah.
Right?
And I think craft is great at that, right? I mean, a really well-crafted whiskey, proof points matter less, age statement matters less. It's about the holistic product. And, when you talk about Bluegrass Bourbon Lounge and Hazel's they don't have to pick. They're not hurting for product, right? And so it means a lot that, you know, they would pick a sub 4-year-old and put it on their shelf and be like, we stand behind this.
Well, I've known about, I call them whiskey agists. You know, they're like, oh, you know, a Scotch has to be this age, or Irish whiskey has to be this age. I've learned that from a long time ago, but my good friends at Iron Root, right?
Yeah.
They proved to everybody.
Good people. Yeah.
They proved to the world. You know, they beat a 10-year-old Kentucky bourbon with a 36-month-old whiskey from them. And I think that said it all right there.
Totally.
You know, blind something, this would shock some people.
I thank you. That means a lot. I think this is a delicious whiskey. It's one of the reasons we put it forth to them as well, but there's something about the balance of the spice, what the bourbon brings to it. It's special. It's a good whiskey.
Now, you guys aren't going to do a whole lot of single barrels. It's going to be coveted. You're going to have to know somebody to know somebody.
Yep.
You're going to have to put in the work, prove that you love you guys, I think, to come out here and pick a single barrel.
Totally. We've got 10 of them for all of 2026. So it's not one fun thing that I will say about what we have done with our single barrel program, and hopefully it's there's been some thought behind it, some intention behind it, is that all of our single barrels that we have up for availability are not part of the core line. So it's not just an American white oak cask strength. It is something completely unique, an Elijah Craig barrel, sherry casks that were new make. So we've got sherry barrels that we laid down that new make went into the sherry casks.
Any Oloroso sherry barrels?
It's a Amontillado and Pedro Jimenez is what we have.
Really?
Then port casks. We have, I'm trying to think of what else we have. Willet casks. A Buffalo Trace. We have a Blanton's cask. That are just like these Elijah Craigs here that were aged entirely in those barrels. So some fun things. We're trying to do that. Some Calvados barrels to make sure that when you pick a single barrel from us, it's a truly unicorn project.
I love that. I think the only other person, well, there's a couple people out there, but Starlight does.
I love Starlight.
Does some of those and stuff. But you're doing it with a single pot still, which is totally different than everybody else, and this is why I do this show. People ask me all the time. Somebody asked me today, like, "What's your favorite whiskey?" You know, I would say if I had to be on a desert island, you know, and I have a whiskey, it'd probably be Weller 107 because I'm a wheat nut, right?
Well, there you go. Totally.
There's nothing wrong with that, but the really reason I do this show and my favorite whiskeys are whiskeys that I get to drink tomorrow, that right here, you know, this is why I do this show right here, because I got to try this single barrel from you guys that just is blowing my mind, and my palate's trying to figure it out, right? What is this? What are the notes for it? And this is something I could sit down and just analyze over a long period of time and say, okay, what was Patrick trying to do with this whiskey? What did the barrel do to it? You know, and I think that's the fun thing about whiskey. If you're a true whiskey nerd like me, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to open up palate. I don't want to drink the same thing like Evan Williams over and over and over and over again. I want to go out there and find me a craft distiller and say, what are they making? What are they trying? That's why I go to different restaurants, right?
Oh, totally.
I don't eat at McDonald's every day. I might look like I do, but I don't. I want to go try as many whiskeys in this world as I possibly can in my lifetime before I can anymore.
Well, you're giving me a lot of credit, because there's also a little bit of what did Patrick have available at the time and what were we trying? I mean, still to this day, I think the beautiful thing about craft is that a lot of what you taste coming from the distillery, even our core expressions, are we laid something down with an idea of thought, but we had no idea what was going to come out of it. Same thing, that Elijah Craig barrel, that wasn't Patrick being, intentionally, let's go ahead and lay this down. I know these are going to pair well. It was like, I have no idea what's going to happen if we put this in a bourbon barrel and really let those characteristics shine. It was the same thing when we laid down some of these new makes and Pedro Jimenez and Amontillado. I had no idea. Is that going to be a 4 year? Is it going to take 10 years? Like, what does that look like? So I think you're on the journey with us. You're on the trip. We're making it up. We're building the plane as it's taking off.
I mean, the last time I visited, you guys weren't doing single barrels at all.
No.
I just, like I said, I've been taking this like a little history trip with you guys and getting to see where are we getting at in the future? Where are we going? And we're going somewhere beautiful. So to kind of wrap this up, this episode, what are we going to see in the future from you guys?
Oh, gosh. Man, what are we going to see in the future? One, new tasting room. Our tasting room is way too small, 600 square feet. We are really going to up the forward-facing, customer-facing experience that we provide here, because I think there's a lot of that storytelling that we need to give voice to and a better accommodation to our team to really tell that story, to elevate the story. And then as we progress, new expressions every year. Our Old Saints is different. That's really become a collector for people that they are excited about every St. Patrick's Day. We just have a lot of fun collaborative things that are coming out in the future, which will be announced stick around. That's one thing. This Old Saints is a reflection of how we feel about collaborations within the industry and how that can connect different types, styles of whiskeys nationally and internationally. So stick around for that. And I think hopefully one thing you'll see is it on your liquor store shelves, and not only here in Colorado. That's the big thing.
Well, I'd love to see it outside of, I've been dying for that. I would hope that I see it in Texas before I see it anywhere else. If I hear you guys are going to Kentucky first, I'm gonna freak out. I'm gonna cry. And look, Megan's over there. Oh my God. I would lose it. I would love to see it in Texas, just because your history with Texas, right?
Yeah. That's where Megan and I met.
And I'm in Texas, so I love it. I'd love if that happened. Well, we're going to give away a bottle of whiskey. I've been thinking about this, how we're going to do this, because we're going to do this a little bit different.
Let's do
right?
it.
And we can't do the single barrel, folks, but we could do one of the four.
Yep.
Right? So I've been thinking about this, and I had to kind of get on my phone a little bit because I would make sure, you know how I use my emojis, folks. And I was like, do they have a moon or do they have a ram on Instagram? So what we're going to do, I think, and if you're all right with this, I'm going to let the winner pick one of the four.
Okay.
Because you said one of the four.
Yep.
We'll let the winner pick. But this is a little screw to the turn here, is what I want to do is I want you to put an emoji of a moon because they have the moon. And then I also want you to put, if you want me to do a single barrel pick here at Talnua, I want you to put in. Comment in on there. If you would buy a bottle of that right there, put in on there. That's gonna let me gauge of what the interest would be for me to do a pick here. I think there's a lot of interest out there, but put that in the comments along with that moon. And then I want you to tag 4 people on there, 4 friends that love single pot still whiskey, that love craft whiskey, that love people like Megan and Patrick Miller here at Talnua. Follow Talnua, or you guys at Talnua?
At Talnua, yep, that's it.
Follow the whiskey trip. We're going to run this sucker all week long for 7 straight days. I'll put something out every day about it, making sure that you remember to put in for it. Remember, I don't use a randomizer. I pick the person that sticks with me, that shows that they love Talnua, that shows that they care about craft whiskey, that they care about brands like this. So I'm going to repeat that one more time. The winner's going to get the pick. I'm also going to throw in one of my caps and one of my Spey Rocks glasses for you that say Whiskey Trip on there. We'll do that all week long. You got to put the moon. You got to say in, and you have to tag 4 friends. You got to be 21. You got to reside in the United States. I can't afford to ship it all over the nation. all over the world anyways. So 4 people, you got to just do it all week long. Put in 100 times if you want to. I know what's going on. I watch people out there. I want you to support this brand right here. Man, Patrick, what a show, man.
Thank you so much.
What
really
a conversation.
I really appreciate it. And look, Miss Megan's going to come over
Uh-oh.
and peek in and just say, hey, real quick. There she is, behind the scenes.
Last episode I did with her, she made me cry. I started tearing up. She started tearing up. Maybe next time we come out.
Maybe next time.
Maybe I can get her
now
on
it's
next
a
time.
must, yeah.
Yeah, we'll tell all kinds of stories on there about your guys' adventures around a whiskey couple traveling. I think that's amazing. Well, any last words for our listeners out there?
You're welcome here at the distillery anytime. We've got a beautiful cocktail program, tasting room. Come visit us. I think we're here all the time, sitting at the bar, hanging out, talking to people. We do tours, and we love sharing the story. Thank you so much. This is very special to us anytime you come in, and come to Colorado, come visit us.
So they can find you on social media at Talnua?
Yep, Facebook, Instagram.
Website, what's your website?
Talnua.com.
That's easy.
www.talnua.com. Yep, there you go.
Some people want to know how to spell Talnua. It's right there on those barrels right behind us.
Talnua. There you go.
It doesn't get any easier than that. Folks, I got to say, Patrick, thank you once again for sharing your whiskey with me, sharing your whiskey knowledge, sharing your whiskey stories with me. I really do appreciate it. Listeners, you know where you can find Old Big Chief. You can find me at The Whiskey Trip on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and now YouTube. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like this content, if you like what I'm doing, these distilleries that I'm visiting, the stories that I'm telling, please hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. If you listen to me, listen to Mark and Matt and the whole crew from the Bourbon Life podcast. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, leave us that 5-star review. As I always say, leave us some comments. Those help open up doors to distilleries like Talnua. Gets great guests on my show and great whiskey on my show from Mr. Patrick here. If you have a distillery in your backyard and you want them on my show, reach out to me, Mike at The Whiskey Trip. I'd really, really appreciate it to connect with craft distillers around the country, around the world. If you got a distillery over there in Ireland, hell, I'd come over there in a heartbeat and do a show.
Beware.
I'll drink all your whiskey up. So if you're going to make those comments on Apple Podcasts, please put them over on my Facebook. Leave me a review on there. Those reviews, they do help out. It keeps me motivated that you like my content, keeps me wanting to be creative and do other shows. So I really appreciate it. Give me a follow on there. Invite all your friends to follow me on there. I got an audience here. I'm here in Denver for work for the U.S. Coast Guard with my job. I'm a port security specialist, and I got some port security specialists in the room with me tonight. And I actually have one of my sponsors in the room with me tonight. Guardian Coins is here live, and I want to tell you, there's going to be an episode coming out with my friend Nick from Guardian Coins pretty soon here. I got to make a trip over and see him, and we're actually going to talk about finished whiskeys and flavored whiskeys on that show. I think there's a lot of people that are into that, so I want to kind of dive into that a little bit. So that's a future episode I got coming out with Guardian Coins. We'll talk about how he got into coins and stuff, but I want to do that episode. I want to honor that man, honor him for supporting me so much. But this has been a great episode once again. I've had a great time. Anytime you go over 30 minutes, and we've blown past that tonight, I think that's a great episode. Always here at Talnua. Listeners, stick with me. This is Old Big Chief, and thanks for taking this ride with me, baby.